My name is Olivia, and for 5 years, my life had only one direction: saving my child. Every morning, I woke up before the sun. Not because I liked mornings, but because fear never slept. My daughter Lily had a weak heart. The doctors said she would need surgery one day, and when that day came, there would be no waiting. No excuses. Just money, or loss. So I saved. I saved coins, I saved small bills, I saved money meant for rest, clothes, and small joys. I worked 2 jobs. One during the day at a small office. Another at night cleaning homes that were not mine. When my body begged for rest, I reminded it that my child's heart did not have time to wait. Lily was 6 years old. She smiled easily, but she tired quickly. Sometimes, after running for just a few minutes, she would stop and hold her chest. I learned to watch her closely. Too closely. Like a mother who knows one mistake could cost everything. At night, when she slept, I counted the money again and again. Not because I doubted the amount, but because counting made me feel safe. The numbers gave me hope. I hope that one day when the doctor says, "It's time," I will say, "I'm ready." I kept the money in a savings account my parents helped me open years ago. They told me it was safer that way. They were my parents. I trusted them. Why wouldn't I? They knew about Lily's condition. They knew what the money was for. They watched me struggle. They watched me skip meals. They watched me cry quietly in the bathrooms. And they said nothing. My sister, Amanda, was very different from me. She never struggled. Never wait. Never saved. If she wanted something, my parents found a way to give it to her. A new phone. A new car. Help with rent. Help with everything. People said she was the golden child. I never said it out loud, but I felt it every day. When Amanda announced she was getting married, the whole family celebrated. My parents were excited like children. They talked about venues, dresses, food, and guests. Every conversation was about the wedding. I smiled when they spoke. I clapped when expected. But inside, my mind was somewhere else. Doctor visits, test results, and the ticking clock inside my daughter's chest. One evening, my mother came to my house smiling wide. Too wide. "Olivia," she said, sitting down, "you should be proud of your sister. This wedding will be beautiful." I nodded. "I'm happy for her." My mother laughed. "Of course you are. Family supports family." That sentence stayed with me. I didn't know why then. Weeks later, I went to check the savings account. I wanted to move some money into another place, just to be extra careful. When I opened the app, my heart stopped. The balance was almost empty. At first, I thought it was a mistake. My hands shook. I refreshed the page. Again and again. The number did not change. I felt cold. Very cold. I called the bank. They told me the money had been withdrawn weeks ago. Legally. With permission. I knew then. My parents. I drove to their house immediately. Lily was asleep in the back seat. My hands were tight on the steering wheel, but my mind was screaming. When I asked them, they didn't deny it. My mother laughed. Actually, I laughed. "Oh, Olivia," she said, waving her hand. "Don't be so dramatic. It was just sitting there. Your sister needed it more right now." My father nodded like this was normal. My mother leaned closer and said words I will never forget. "Thank you for funding the wedding." I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I went silent. And that silence was the beginning of everything. I don't remember how I drove home that night. I remember the road, I remember the streetlights. But I don't remember breathing. When I got home, I carried Lily inside and laid her on the bed. She stirred and smiled in her sleep. That smile broke something inside me. I sat on the floor next to her bed and pressed my hand to my mouth so she wouldn't hear me cry. My parents had stolen from my child. Not from me. From my child. The money meant to save her heart was gone. Just like that. Years of work. Years of sacrifice. Gone for flowers, food, music, and a white dress. That night, my phone buzzed again and again. Messages from family members. "Did you hear about the wedding plans? Amanda's dress is expensive but worth it. Your parents are doing so much for her." I said nothing. The next day, My mother called me like nothing had happened. Olivia, she said cheerfully, we need to talk about the guest list. I stayed quiet. Hello? She asked. I heard you, I said calmly. She sighed. You know money comes and goes. Lily is still young. You can save again. Save again. Like time was a toy. Like my daughter's heart could wait. I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind her of every night I worked until my hands ached. Every meal I skipped. Every fear I carried alone. But I didn't. I said, I understand. That surprised her. She expected tears. She expected anger. She expected weakness. Instead, I gave her silence. Days passed. Then weeks. The wedding grew bigger. More expensive. Louder. My parents posted pictures online. Venues, decorations, gift bags. And then I saw it. A post from my mother. Proud parents making our daughter's dream wedding come true. I stared at that screen for a long time. No one mentioned Lily, no one mentioned the surgery, no one mentioned the stolen money. At the hospital, the doctor's face was serious. She needs the surgery soon, he said. We can't delay much longer. I nodded. I thanked him. I walked out and sat in my car, shaking. That night, I opened a notebook. I wrote everything down. Dates, amounts, conversations, screenshots, bank statements. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was protecting my child. I started making calls, not to family, but to people who could help. Legal offices, financial advisors, aid organizations. I learned something important during that time. Silence is not weakness. Silence is observation. And while my family was celebrating, laughing, and planning a perfect wedding, I was preparing for the truth. They thought I had accepted it. They thought I had moved on. They were wrong. And the wedding day was getting closer. The wedding became the center of everything. Every conversation in the family group chat was about it. The dress, the food, the music, the guest list. My sister Amanda was treated like a queen. My parents followed her around, fixing every small problem before it even became one. I stayed quiet. Sometimes I typed a reply, then erased it. Sometimes I stared at my phone until the screen went dark. No one asked how Lily was doing. No one asked if I was okay. It was like my daughter and I no longer existed. One afternoon, my mother called me again. Olivia, she said, her voice sharp this time, you haven't been helping with the wedding. I held the phone tightly. Helping how? You know how, she snapped. Amanda needs support. You're her sister. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, I'm busy. Busy with what? She asked. I looked at Lily sitting on the floor, slowly coloring. Her breathing was shallow. Her face was pale. With my child, I replied. My mother was silent for a moment. Then she said something that still hurts when I remember it. You're always using that child as an excuse. I closed my eyes. That was the moment something in me hardened. Not anger. Not hate. Just clarity. I stopped answering calls after that. I focused on Lily. Doctor visits became more frequent. Tests became more serious. The word urgent appeared more than once in our medical files. At night, when Lily slept, I continued my quiet work. I met with a lawyer. A young woman with kind eyes who listened without interrupting. I showed her the bank records. The messages. The proof. This is theft, she said plainly. And because it was taken for a specific purpose you made clear, it's worse. I didn't feel relieved when she said that. I felt tired. I didn't want my parents punished, I wanted my child saved. But justice doesn't care about feelings. It cares about facts. The lawyer advised patience. Let them continue as normal, she said. Do not warn them. So I waited. The wedding invitations were sent. I noticed something painful. Lily and I were not invited. Not even out of politeness. My mother called to explain, like she was doing me a favor. It's a small wedding, she said. And Lily gets tired easily. This is better. I said nothing. Inside, something broke completely. My parents had stolen my child's surgery money and didn't even want her presence at the event it funded. The week before the wedding, the venue was paid in full. The caterers, the band, the photographer, all paid. With my money. I could see it clearly now. The truth wasn't hidden anymore. This wedding was built on my silence. On the night before the wedding, I sat by Lily's bed. She was awake, her eyes wide. "Mommy," she asked softly, "will I be okay?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, my love." I kissed her forehead and held her hand until she slept. Then I stood up. I opened my laptop. I opened my folder. I sent the final documents. The wedding was scheduled for noon. By morning, everything would change. The morning of the wedding arrived quietly. No music, no celebration, no excitement in my house. Only the sound of Lily breathing in her sleep. I woke up before dawn and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall. My heart felt heavy, but my mind was clear. For the first time in weeks, I was not confused. I was not afraid. I knew exactly what I was doing. I checked my phone. Missed calls, messages, voicemails, all from my family. "Where are you? Your sister needs you. Why aren't you answering?" I ignored them all. I went into Lily's room. She was awake, sitting up slowly, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy," she said, smiling weakly, "are we going somewhere?" I sat beside her and brushed her hair gently. "Not today, baby." She nodded. She was used to disappointment. That thought hurt more than anything my parents had done. I made her breakfast. She ate only a little. I packed her medication. I kissed her forehead again and again, like I was trying to memorize her warmth. Then I did something I had never done before. I told her the truth. Softly, carefully. "Mommy has to protect you today," I said. "Some people made bad choices. Mommy is fixing it." She looked at me with her big eyes and nodded. "Okay." Children trust in ways adults never do. At exactly 9 a.m., my lawyer called me. "It's done," she said. "The documents have been filed. The bank has frozen the remaining accounts connected to the transfer. Notifications have been sent." I closed my eyes. I didn't feel happy, I didn't feel victory. I felt relieved. Around the same time, chaos began somewhere else. My phone started ringing non-stop. My mother's name flashed on the screen again and again. I didn't answer. Then my father. Then my sister. Then cousins. Then numbers I didn't recognize. I let it ring. At 10:15 a.m., a message came through from Amanda. "What did you do?" I read it once. Then twice. I didn't reply. At the wedding venue, everything was falling apart. The caterers had stopped unloading. The band refused to set up. The venue manager was on the phone, angry and confused. Payments had been flagged. Funds were under investigation. Nothing could move forward. My parents were screaming, my sister was crying. Guests were arriving, dressed beautifully, smiling, unaware. And then the truth began to spread. Someone whispered. Then another. Then another. This wedding was paid for with stolen money. Money meant for a sick child. Her own granddaughter. By the time the guests understood, the room was filled with silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. My mother called me again. This time, I answered. "What have you done?" she shouted. "You're destroying this family." I spoke calmly. "You destroyed it when you chose a wedding over my child's life." "You're selfish," she screamed. I laughed softly. Not because it was funny, but because it was clear. "Yes," I said. "I chose my child." She hung up. I sat down on the couch and held Lily close. She leaned against me, tired. Outside, the wedding everyone celebrated was collapsing. Inside my home, for the first time, I felt like a real mother. Not a daughter. Not a sister. A mother who finally chose right. The news traveled fast. Faster than I expected. Faster than I was ready for. By the afternoon, my phone was filled with messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Some were confused. Some were angry. Some finally understood. "Is it true? They really took Lily's money?" "We didn't know." I read every message, but I answered only a few. "Yes. Yes, it's true. Yes, it was for her surgery." I didn't explain further. I didn't defend myself. The truth didn't need decoration. That evening, my father showed up at my door. He looked smaller than I remembered. His shoulders were bent. His eyes avoided mine. "Olivia," he said softly, "we need to talk." I stood in the doorway. I didn't invite him in. "You embarrassed us today," he continued. "People are talking." I looked past him, into the street, and then back at his face. "You embarrassed yourselves," I said. "I only told the truth." He sighed. "We were going to pay it back." "When?" I asked. He had no answer. I told him about the doctor's warning, about the urgency, about Lily's weakening heart. "She could have died," I said quietly. His face changed then. For a moment, I thought I saw guilt. But then he said, "You should have reminded us." That was it. I closed the door. Inside, Lily was sitting on the couch watching cartoons. She looked up and smiled. "Is Grandpa mad?" she asked. I sat beside her. "Grandpa made a bad choice." She nodded, like she understood more than she should. The next day, the police called. Statements were taken. Evidence was reviewed. The case moved forward. My mother posted online. She cried about betrayal. She cried about humiliation. She cried about how ungrateful I was. But she didn't cry about Lily. People noticed. Comments changed. Support shifted. Questions became sharper. And then something unexpected happened. A woman I didn't know reached out. She worked with a medical charity. She had heard the story. She asked about Lily's condition. Within days, help arrived. Donations, support, connections to surgeons. The surgery was scheduled. When I told Lily, she smiled and said, "So my heart will be strong?" "Yes," I whispered. "Very strong." Vanessa's life still looked perfect. She posted pictures every day. Smiling, traveling, showing off her clothes and her food. People praised her in the comments. They called her strong, smart, and successful. But I knew the truth. The cracks were growing. And it was time to push. I started with something small, something quiet. I sent an anonymous email to one of the companies she worked with. The email didn't lie. It only asked questions. Simple questions that made people curious. Questions are dangerous. When people start asking questions, lies begin to shake. A few days later, Vanessa called me. Her voice was sharp. "Do you know anything about this?" she asked. "About what?" I replied calmly. "This company is suddenly asking for documents. Old ones. Things they never cared about before." I acted surprised. "That's strange." She sighed. "It's probably nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Over the next week, more questions came. More emails. More phone calls. Vanessa started losing sleep. She checked her phone all the time. She stopped laughing the way she used to. One night, she came to my place again. "I don't understand," she said, pacing the room. "I've done everything right." I watched her closely. This was the same woman who smiled while my life burned. I said softly, "Maybe someone is trying to hurt you." She stopped walking and looked at me. "Why would anyone do that?" she asked. I shrugged. "People get jealous." She nodded slowly. That answer made sense to her. Vanessa always believed people wanted what she had. Then I made my next move. I let her talk. When people are scared, they talk too much. She told me about missing money, about the fake numbers she used to cover it, about how she planned to fix everything later. Later never comes. I listened like a caring sister. Inside, I was calm, cold, focused. After she left, I didn't sleep. I organized everything. Every message. Every document. Every lie. Then I leaked one small piece. Just one. Enough to make someone look closer. 2 days later, Vanessa's phone rang non-stop. She didn't answer mine. She didn't answer anyone. When she finally came to see me, her eyes were red. "They froze my account," she whispered. I acted shocked. "What? How?" "They say they need time to investigate." Investigate. That word crushed her. For the first time, Vanessa looked small. Not powerful. Not proud. Just scared. She started blaming people. Friends. Co-workers. Even strangers. She never blamed me. Why would she? I was the broken sister. The harmless one. That made everything easier. Her friends started pulling away. Some stopped replying. Some acted distant. People don't stay close when they smell trouble. I watched her fall slowly. Then something unexpected happened. She apologized. I know I haven't always been kind, she said one night, sitting beside me. But I've been under a lot of pressure. I looked at her and felt nothing. No pity. No love. Only patience. I told her, we all make mistakes. She smiled weakly. She had no idea how deep her mistake was. That same night, I heard her crying in the bathroom. Loud. Broken. The sound followed me into my dreams. But I didn't stop. Because what she did to me was worse. By the end of the month, her name was being whispered. People avoided her. Opportunities disappeared quietly. Vanessa was falling. And this was only the beginning. In the mirror, I looked at myself and barely recognized the person staring back. I was no longer the sister she destroyed. I was something else now. Vanessa's world was crumbling. She didn't know it yet, but every step she took, every breath she drew, was part of my plan. Every friend who avoided her, every opportunity that slipped away, it was me. I had waited, I had watched, I had collected the weapons of her downfall, and now it was time to strike harder. It started with her phone. I knew she was paranoid now. She double-checked every message, every email, and every call. And one night, I made sure she would never feel safe again. I sent her a simple text from an unknown number. I know what you did. I'm watching. She froze. Her hands trembled. She showed the phone to no one. She didn't call me. She didn't call anyone. She just sat there, staring at the screen, her mind spinning. Fear was beginning to seep into her bones. The next morning, her day began to fall apart. At work, her files were missing. Important contracts she had spent months preparing? Gone. Emails vanished. Computer errors appeared everywhere. People whispered. They stared. She tried to blame the system, her team, anyone but herself, but the cracks were visible. Her confidence was breaking. And that was just the start. I didn't just want her scared. I wanted her desperate. So I made small attacks, one after another. A missed call here. A deleted document is there, a sudden bank alert she couldn't explain, quiet friend who suddenly became distant. Vanessa tried to fight back. She accused co-workers. She demanded explanations. She yelled at people. But no one could help her. No one knew the truth. Only I did. One night, I saw her from across the street. She was sitting alone on a park bench, crying, hugging her knees. I watched her, heart steady, notebook in my bag, my plan getting clearer with every tear. I remembered what she did to me, the look on her face when I lost my promotion, the laughter that followed. Every memory made me sharper, colder, and smarter. It was time to take it further. I started leaving small things at her door. Anonymous packages. Notes. A photo of her from a week ago with a message. You're not safe. The first time she found one, she panicked. She didn't scream. She didn't call me. She just hid it under a pile of clothes and looked over her shoulder constantly. Fear was consuming her. And I was feeding it, piece by piece. Then came the confrontation I had been waiting for. She called me one night. Her voice was shaking. Obi, did you? She stopped, almost choking. I stayed quiet. I let her think. At that moment, I knew I had done the right thing. Not just for her heart, but for both of our lives. After cutting ties with my family, life felt fragile, like walking on thin ice. But I also felt stronger than I had in years. For the first time, I was living fully for my child. Every decision, every small moment, was centered on keeping her safe, happy, and alive. News of what had happened at my sister's wedding spread far beyond my family. People whispered in the neighborhood. Friends shared the story quietly. Some relatives confronted me, some avoided me, and others, strangers online, offered help I never expected. There were donations for Lily's care, offers for second opinions, and messages of support that warmed my exhausted heart. I realized how powerful truth could be when you held it without shame. My parents, however, were not done with their drama. The legal actions against them were slow, frustrating, and exhausting. They tried everything: pleading, crying, excuses, even threats. But nothing worked. Every call I ignored, every visit I refused, every lawyer letter I forwarded reminded them that actions have consequences. They had assumed that family loyalty would protect them. They were wrong. One morning, I received a call from my lawyer with updates. My parents had been officially reprimanded for misappropriating the funds. They were ordered not only to return what they had taken, but also to pay fines for the delay and stress caused. My sister Amanda was furious. She called me repeatedly, yelling that I had ruined her dream wedding and the family reputation. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Their chaos was no longer my responsibility. Meanwhile, Lily thrived. The surgery was successful, and her energy returned in ways I hadn't imagined possible. She ran in the garden, laughed at silly jokes, and hugged me every night as if to say, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Watching her grow healthy and happy reminded me that every choice I made, every silent refusal to accept injustice, was worth it. One evening, weeks after the surgery, a neighbor came to my door. "Olivia," she said softly, "I just wanted to tell you. I've never seen a mother fight so hard. You're incredible." Her words caught me off guard. I wasn't looking for praise. I wasn't looking for validation. But hearing them made me realize something profound. Strength isn't loud or boastful. Strength is quiet, steady, and relentless. And yet, the emotional toll remained. At night, when the house was silent and Lily slept, I sometimes found myself replaying memories. My mother's laugh, my father's dismissive nods, Amanda's gleeful excitement at my expense. Anger rose in me sometimes, sharp and hot. But I didn't let it consume me. I wrote it down instead. I scribbled in a journal, poured into letters I never sent, screamed into pillows. I learned that processing pain didn't mean staying in it. By the time the legal case concluded, my parents had lost more than money. Their reputation in the community was tarnished, relationships strained, and the respect they once demanded had vanished. They called occasionally, weekly, sometimes pretending to care, but I had built walls too high to let them in. It wasn't hate, I had simply learned the truth. Blood alone does not make someone trustworthy. Actions do. Even Amanda changed. Slowly, painfully, she began to understand what had happened. She never apologized openly, but the tension in her calls softened over time. I didn't need her to apologize. I only needed my child to be safe. That was enough. Through all of this, I built a life focused on healing and growth. I started volunteering with families facing medical emergencies, sharing my experience to help them advocate for their children. Each success story reminded me that one person can make a difference. That even in the darkest betrayals, love, courage, and truth could ripple outward to create hope. Most importantly, Lily learned what family truly meant. It wasn't the people who called themselves family but those who acted with love, protection, and loyalty. She learned that boundaries are powerful, that safety is sacred, and that sometimes standing up, even silently, was the strongest form of love. By the end of that year, my life had transformed. The fear, the silence, the betrayal, they were still part of my story, but they no longer controlled it. Every hug from Lily, every laugh, every heartbeat of hers, reminded me why I had chosen courage over comfort. I had chosen my child over blood. And in doing so, I had finally found peace. The ripple of consequences had stretched far and wide. My parents had lost power. My sister had learned, slowly, the cost of selfishness. The community had seen the truth. And I had gained something far greater than revenge, a life rebuilt, a child healed, and a heart finally unburdened. Sometimes, late at night, I sit beside Lily and hold her hand. I think about the past and all the pain it brought, but I also think about the lessons. Betrayal can break people, yes. But courage, love, and unwavering devotion to what matters most, your child, can rebuild everything stronger than before. And that is exactly what I did. The day finally came when I had to face them, fully, without silence. It wasn't planned like a wedding or a party. It wasn't public like before. But it was inevitable. My parents had requested a meeting, desperate to clear the air after losing the legal battle. I agreed, not because I wanted to forgive, but because I wanted closure, for me and for Lily. I drove to the coffee shop we had all used in the past. Neutral ground. I carried Lily with me, not because she needed to be there, but because she had a right to see the people who tried to take from her. When I walked in, my mother's face twisted with something between fear and arrogance. My father's eyes darted, unsure where to look. My sister Amanda shifted in her chair nervously. Olivia, my mother said, her voice shaky. I just want to explain. I held up a hand. No, there's nothing to explain. She blinked. But I shook my head. You stole from my child. You took what was meant for her survival. You laughed about it. You excluded her from her own birthday, from her own life, from your own wedding. There is nothing to explain. There are only consequences, and you faced them. My father opened his mouth, but no words came out. I let the silence do the work. Then I looked at Amanda. And you, sister. You didn't stop it. You celebrated it. You were part of it. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't know what else to do. I leaned forward, voice soft but firm. You could have refused. You could have told the truth. You could have protected your niece. You chose the party instead. She looked down, ashamed. For the first time, I saw real regret, not performative, not forced, but raw and quiet. I turned to my parents again. Do you understand now? Blood does not make someone family. Actions do. You can apologize, you can feel regret, but you cannot undo what was taken. You cannot get back the years of worry. You cannot buy back a heartbeat. My mother's lips trembled. She whispered something incoherent, but I wasn't listening. Then I said what I had to say, and it wasn't easy. I forgive you, not because I want you back, but because holding on would only hurt me and my child. Lily deserves peace. I deserve peace. That is what I choose. But understand this, you will never again be allowed to hurt us. Boundaries are permanent. For the first time, all of them were quiet. My words hung in the air like final verdicts. I reached for Lily's hand. She squeezed it gently. She had been watching me, absorbing every word. I realized then that this confrontation was not just for me, it was for her. To see that even when life is unfair, even when people betray you, standing up for yourself and your loved ones is possible. We walked out of the coffee shop together. My parents stayed behind, stunned and wordless. Amanda hesitated, then left without looking back. Outside, the sunlight felt warmer. The air felt lighter. For the first time in years, I breathed freely. I looked down at Lily, her little hand in mine, her eyes bright and trusting. Mommy, she said, we did it. Yes, baby, I whispered. We did it. And nothing can take this from us. That day, I realized that confrontation isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life, protecting your loved ones, and drawing a line no one can cross again. My family had tried to define me by their selfishness. But that day, I defined myself by my courage, my love, and my unwavering devotion to my child. And for the first time, I felt truly free. Life after confrontation felt different. Lighter. Yet heavier too, because freedom always comes with responsibility. Lily's recovery was steady. Her laughter returned like sunlight after a long storm. She ran through the park, played with friends, and even tried swimming for the first time. Every smile reminded me why I had fought so hard, why I had endured betrayal, and why I had chosen boundaries over blind loyalty. We rebuilt our lives slowly. Our home became a safe space filled with warmth, love, and honesty. No more secrets. No more silent betrayals. I started taking small steps for myself too, finishing projects I had put off for years, reconnecting with friends who respected our space, and building a network of support for parents like me. Sometimes, strangers would stop me in the street or send messages online. Your story inspired me to protect my child, they would say. Each time, I realized that our pain had become someone else's courage. That truth, once silenced, had now become powerful. One afternoon, Lily came running to me, holding a small flower she had picked. Mommy, she said, her eyes shining, this is for you. You saved me. I knelt down, hugged her tightly and whispered, no, my love. You saved me too. You gave me the strength to fight for you. We laughed together, the sound echoing through our home. It was a sound that had been missing for years, a sound that meant we were safe, alive, and whole. I never saw my parents or sister again, at least not in any meaningful way. There were occasional messages, hesitant apologies, and empty gestures. I let them be. Some wounds do not need reopening, some people do not deserve another chance. I had learned that love is not always enough to protect you, sometimes action is. The ripple of consequences from that stolen money had changed everything. My family had lost their power, their image, and their sense of entitlement. But I had gained something far more important, a healed child, a clear conscience, and a life built on my terms. Years later, when I look back, I don't feel bitter anymore. I feel gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons, the strength, and the courage I discovered in myself. Gratitude for Lily, who taught me that love is not passive, it is protective, unwavering, and sometimes fierce. We had survived betrayal, injustice, and heartbreak. And in the end, we had thrived. Because I chose my child over blood. And in that choice, I found freedom, peace, and a love that nothing, not even family, could ever take away.